the spirit of Christmas doesn't go away if you don't want it to. So if you want to feel that special feeling of things are okay and happy and I can be giving and loving, then just make that decision. Because when you do that, then it makes your world and the world around you a much better place to be.
Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, #1 podcast in Colorado Springs.
Our highlighted sponsor for this episode is Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Check them out at pinnacleapc.com.
Well, today, I always say we have a very special guest on pretty much every time I ring somebody in, but just to ring in the seasons just the best way we possibly can. I think it's been about 2 years since we had this very special guest on our show. And so we're so excited to bring back Santa Claus to our show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to come and see you guys. You guys are always on the nice list, and it makes it easy to come back.
Yeah.
How does one gauge? Like, I know you gauge who's on the naughty or nice list, but like, I feel like, you know, me and Andrew, I mean, we're decent guys, but how are we on the nice list? I'm curious how you judge that.
Well, I mean, when you sit back and think about it, are you making the world a better place? That's when it comes right down to. You know, some people with kids, it's a lot easier because, you know, is your room clean? Are you listening to your mom and dad? When we start talking to adults, you're like, okay, you know, for example, Andrew, we do need to talk a little bit about your driving on Academy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a drag race.
Well,
You'll get there.
It's been a lot of road work lately, so
There has been, yes. But I mean, just the little things where, I mean, when you're sitting back and trying to judge naughty or nice, it's who's, and this is easier for me to do than anybody else, but who is carrying the spirit of Christmas with them all year round? Are you giving of yourself? Are you looking for the best in yourself and in others? And that's the hardest part, because right now, throughout the entire world, there is so much division of us versus them. And what we found out at the North Pole is that we get so much more done than us versus them.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, again, thank you so much for coming in so quickly. I know you have a whole sleigh. You can get over here very quickly, but Colorado Springs has a lot of cool things specifically for tracking you. NORAD.
100%. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
We were just talking about that. Talk a little bit more about how they're tracking you and everything too. It's just the coolest thing ever.
Well, I mean, at the beginning, it was the beginning of radar. And then when I saw, I mean, that colonel who answered the phone. And I mean, that's a great example of the naughty and nice list. Here's a man who was harsh, who was by the book, who was A, B, and C. And that's the way you do things. But there's a little kid on the line who believes in Santa. And he softened and he said, we're watching for him. And then, like we talked last time, and then walking out and seeing what one of those airmen did with putting up the picture of the sleigh, of tracking me in the world. And then him taking the initiative of, I'm going to call the newspaper or the radio station and let them know what's going on. After I saw his effort, I was like, you know, I should sit down and have a visit with him and figure out a really good, reliable way to be able to continue to track me every year so everybody knows where I am and how quickly I'm getting there.
So Santa's got an IT department.
Oh, you would not believe the departments we have. Well, for example, I had a young man ask me this year on some of my visits here in town. He asked for a PlayStation, and I know that's from Sony. And he says, but Santa, I don't understand how you can bring me a PlayStation when that's made by Sony. And I said, well, did you want me to explain it? He said, yes, please. I said, all right. Did you see the movie Elf? And he's like, yeah. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes they grow too big for the workshop. So we have a young lady who's named Dottie, and she makes phone calls to all these companies that kids ask presents from. And she'll call them and say, we have Dexter the elf, and he's been really, really good in electronics. He works very fast and he can see really, really small things. Would you guys have a place for him at Sony? And all of these markets understand that our elves work really, really, and they're great employees, and you pay them in sugar and candy, and they're just fine. But the deal is, when I get requests for an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Barbie or a G.I. Joe or whatever it might be, we reach out to them and say, I've had a request for X number. Can we send somebody down to pick those up? And then we bring them up to the North Pole and make sure that they can get delivered on Christmas Eve.
We like to take a quick moment and thank our sponsors.
Celebrity DJ. Celebrity DJ, where you get your events your way. Weddings, corporate events, and more. Let Celebrity DJ be your director of fun. Winner of WeddingWire.com's Couple Choice Award year after year with over 100 5-star reviews. Let Celebrity DJ bring your vision for your special event to life. Online at celebrity-dj.com.
That's celebrity-dj.com.
Home Day.
Enhance your company's benefit package with Home Day. Home Day offers innovative real estate solutions that make home ownership simpler and more accessible for your employees. Discover how Home Day can add value to your benefits program at gethomeday.com.
Neon Pig Creative. Bring brands to life with Neon Pig Creative. Dazzling designs and strategic marketing make businesses stand out. Spark creativity at neonpigcreative.com. That's neonpigcreative.com. Exponential Impact.
Fuel startup success with exponential impact, mentorship, resources, and support available to amplify impact. Join a community of change makers at exponentialimpact.com.
That's exponentialimpact.com. Fast Signs. Fast Signs can help you with all your signage and visual marketing needs. Whether you're starting a new business or just need a signage refresh, let Fast Signs help you. Make your statement. That's fastsigns.com. Cars Helping Charities.
Cars Helping Charities is a turnkey fundraising solution for nonprofits. Cars Helping Charities allows your nonprofit to accept vehicle donations, which are sold, and then the funds go to the organization. CHC is partnering with my nonprofit of choice, Mattersville, to help them raise funds through vehicle donations. Please consider donating your car to support Mattersville. CHC will pick up any car, an old clunker you have sitting in your driveway, or a car you just don't feel like selling anymore. Make sure to visit carshelpingcharities.org. That's carshelpingcharities.org. Dream Accounting Solutions. Dream Accounting Solutions provides expert outsource accounting and CFO services to include bookkeeping, payroll, and financial consulting to help you take control of your business finances.
Whether you're a small business or an entrepreneur, their tailored services keep your finances in check. Visit dreamaccountingsolutions.com to schedule your consultation and simplify your financial future. Now let's get back to the show.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you're always so busy, especially down around this time of the year.
Oh, yes.
How does Mrs. Claus put up with all the craziness year over year to help be a support system for you?
So Mrs. Claus is quite literally the rock that makes the whole thing run. If it wasn't for her, I would not ever be the man that I am today. She has one of those minds that just juggles. And it's one of those things where, I mean, I keep a list and I know who's on it. And I'm watching this, but she's watching the operation. And so, while it's the art of delegation, find somebody who's better than you are at something and have them do it for you. And so that's what Mrs. Claus is for me.
She's your COO?
She's my wife.
Yeah.
But she's the one who just, if anything, I answer to her. By the way, you need to do X, you need to do Y. Don't forget you have this podcast. I'm like, right. Okay. All right. Because I'm watching so many other things. She makes sure that I keep my eye on the ball that I've got to keep an eye on right now and the one that's coming up. It's a lot like juggling. One of the lessons I've learned with juggling is that you only have control of one ball at a time. It's the one in the air. You've thrown one up. Another one's coming down. I can control this one now. And she helps me know where the next one's coming from a logistical standpoint. I could not do this without her.
Oh, how cool. I wanted to ask you this because this has been an ongoing tradition since I've been alive, and Andrew for sure since we've been alive, is all the holiday traditions and new movies that come out, Christmas movies, Christmas themed movies. We were looking on Netflix recently and there was like a movie called Hot Frosty that has recently come out and like just these wild movies. I just want to know, like, from your standpoint, like, what are your viewpoints on a lot of these like newer movies? I guess the spinoffs that are coming into play, like Hot Frosty. I don't know.
I have not seen or heard anything about Hot Frosty. It sounds like it would be a cup of water to me. But if you knew Frosty, I'll tell you a little secret, and this is something that a lot of people don't know. I'm as real as people let me be, and way back in the day, people imagined me as an elf about this tall, and I wore animal skins. And I would come in from the forest and deliver gifts. And then, depending on where you are in the world, Santa Claus looks different. The reason, for example, that Santa Claus wears red is in North America, specifically United States, is because of Coca-Cola, and that's how they envisioned me. What I'm seeing now, and it's an interesting transition, is that the vision of Santa is getting skewed a little bit. Now, I've heard of the movie Bad Santa. I have not watched it because I don't need to know what somebody else is doing, not in my name, not well. But I have seen other movies. I think one just came out recently called Red One. Is that right?
Oh,
There's a great actor named J.K. Simmons, but he is not a big, heavy-set guy. He's very, very slight. And so I'm noticing that a healthier version of Santa is becoming what people are imagining. And when you imagine that, that's what Santa becomes. And so, when they're not disparaging the holiday, when they're trying to find the best way to present it and present themselves, I completely support that, because they're just trying to make sure that people continue to believe in the magic. And that's the important part I'll give you a good example. Thanksgiving in the United States is very, very late this year. It's, what is it, the 29th?
Yeah,
29th. Okay. And so I noticed that a lot of places and people started celebrating Christmas or wanting Christmas to start much, much earlier. Some of my helpers actually started arriving at malls the second full weekend of November. And I thought, for one part of me thought, that's unfortunate because it's a special time. But when I sat back and thought more about it, I'm like, this is because people want that spirit to start sooner. They want to have that special Christmas feel sooner. And that's not a bad thing. And I think the most important thing to remember, and if I may, I'm going to talk directly to your audience, is the spirit of Christmas doesn't go away if you don't want it to. So if you want to feel that special feeling of things are okay and happy and I can be giving and loving, then just make that decision. Because when you do that, then it makes your world and the world around you a much better place to be.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful way. And like you said, I think that the holiday spirit has changed and morphed over the years. How do you think that's morphed over the years? I mean, last time we spoke to you was so cool because you were talking about during World War II and like the ceasefire, which was
that was World War I.
World War I,
Yep.
and that was such a beautiful story. How do you feel like it's changed it's so much has changed in our world in the past 20 years with internet and all the different things.
100%. No, I mean, things are moving much, much faster. And in a lot of ways, that's a positive. I mean, I'm all about moving fast, but I only do it one night a year. Now, the way things are changing, you're starting to see an expanded view of what a family looks like. It's just not mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa, kids, aunts, uncles. But you're seeing people not have the traditional family, but expanding their circle to have people participate.
We have things like Friendsgiving.
Exactly right. And I know lots of folks have, friends over for Christmas Eve and on Christmas Day. And it's a lovely message because a lot of folks don't have that tie that traditionally they've been taught they need to have. And they don't need to have that. What they need to have is that spirit, that feeling of, I want to give, I want to make the world a better place. I'm going to achieve that by making sure that my circle is expanded far enough so that those who might not have a place do have a place. The other thing I'm starting to see is a lot of people are paying more attention to who's around the tree as opposed to what's under the tree. And I think that's so lovely because we get so wrapped up in the capitalism of what do I want? What do I want? What do I want?
No pun intended, right?
100%. Exactly. Right. But one of the questions I love to ask the children when they sit, I'm like, okay, so I know what you want. What do you want to give your mom and dad for Christmas? And it stops those kids in their tracks. And they're like, and then they start really thinking. And sometimes it's just something silly, like, they'd come up with something silly. But other times, mommy would like more earrings. Or daddy needs a tool to do this on this project. So it shows that they're paying attention. And that's the best part, is getting folks to not to give a gift, but what can you use and what would make your life better? That's the art of gift giving, because it's something from you that'll be benefit. Sometimes it's something you can use like a tool. Sometimes it's something that you can use that make you laugh and make your life a bit more just fun. And I think having that balance is important.
That makes me think of something I've been into recently, actually, which is 3D printing. And
goodness.
What the cool thing about 3D printing is you can make a gift really meaningful because you can design it, you can customize it, and you can even create a tool with 3D printing.
Exactly.
So it's just, you can make something very special. And I thought of this thing recently, like last week, I brought our guest a gift that I 3D printed. It was like, it takes time for things to 3D print though. And I didn't think of it until like an hour before. So I was like, oh, I'm limited by the size, by the time that I have. And so I was like, I did like an hour before this episode, actually, I was like, oh, I should bring Santa a gift. And then I was like, then I didn't have time to develop it. I wanted to make something super special, but it was like, I wanted it to be special. I wasn't going to bring a gift unless it was special.
Well, just leave it next to the cookies when I come to the house.
Okay.
But you mentioned the 3D printing. Between 3D printing and CNC machines and laser machines, we're starting to see the creativity surge again.
Totally.
I think a lot of people bought stuff before because that's what they had to do. And all of a sudden people are like, I can give of myself by putting something into this item. Yeah. And I think that's just a lovely, lovely
something
sentiment.
Super special and super personal too. It's like, this is just a funny example. It's like the other week, I brought Edgar Hasbula head. He had been talking about it for a couple months, and like it's has Bula. I gotta say the right one because one means something. One's
a terrorist organization. Yes. One's a celebrity.
Yeah. And it was like that was something super special that I couldn't have done without like being able to. I mean, I could have printed a picture or printed a photo or something.
Right, but it was having a 3D representation of that. And that's the thing, is that people are starting to tap into the creativity that has almost always been reserved for us at the North Pole.
Yeah, for manufacturers.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And so it's absolutely lovely. And I just think it needs to continue.
I think that's so special, especially like a thoughtful gift, like you guys were talking about. Like, my dad has recently gone through some like heart issues and things of that nature, and his my brother is going to go visit him tomorrow, and his girlfriend posted something on Instagram saying like, my man's making his dad, before he comes to Texas to see his dad, like a nutrition book, and he's like building a nutrition book for his dad. And I saw my brother on the computer like designing a book and book cover. It's like so thoughtful, and so my dad's gonna be like so happy because it's intentional, it's thoughtful, it's caring, it's trying to have my dad have longevity in his life.
Exactly.
And it's just, there's something to be said about that. Like the thoughtfulness that goes around gift giving. I'm not the best gift giver. I'm like the guy that gives people gift cards, and then I write stuff in the cards. I feel like that's my way of being thoughtful, is writing a nice message. But there's an art to being like really thoughtful and really digging into the person that you care about and getting something that's like more intentional.
Did you want to be a better gift giver?
Yeah.
Okay. Just watch. Literally, that's all you have to do. You just sit back and observe someone and see what they're doing. What is their passion? Where do they really get into something? What would make that passion more fun, easy? He just mentioned 3D printing. I know that there are lots of fun accessories that make 3D printing a lot easier. So keeping that in mind when you're giving gifts of how can I help this? How can I elevate their passion? Makes things even more fun. I know of a family that, and this has been going around for years and years and years now, but they're all into Dungeons and Dragons. And every Christmas I see dice getting exchanged. I mean, multiple sets of dice back and forth to all of the kids. And I'm amazed because they love that. One of the parents has decided, because they have a passion in Legos. And so they've decided that they're going to make dice towers out of Legos for all of their Dungeons and Dragons kids. So there's a little bit of the parent in their passion, and it's reinforcing the kids' passion. And again, it's going to be that kind of thing that they remember and enjoy.
We got to clip this as Gift Giving 101 by Santa Claus himself.
I mean, for the man himself. It's so special, especially when I see little kids and they're turning around and they see you.
Yeah.
And there's like a look that they give you that is so hard to describe because it encapsulates so much,
Mhm.
something they've always heard about but never seen with their own eyes. Describe some of those experiences with us about maybe a kid catching a glimpse of you coming down the chimney or just seeing you in passing. Talk about those moments.
There was the funny thing is when you can tell a lot about the kid right at that first moment. Sometimes there's fear, and I always tell their parents, yeah, never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's excitement because they understand it. They understand that this person is there to help them. I've had questions from kids saying, Santa, could you do me a favor and not come in the house? And because they don't, and it's been interesting. It's been since COVID. Don't come in the house when you bring the parent presents. I'm like, okay, yeah. I will put them in a special place. I will then use some of my magic and wake your mom and dad up so they can bring the presents in, and they'll be under the tree for you when you wake up. Is that okay with you? And they're like, yeah, I appreciate that, Santa. It's a security thing. I had a little boy. I was visiting Fort Carson, which, I mean, for those of you who don't know, that's one of the Army bases in Colorado Springs. He walks up to me and he says, "You're not the real Santa." And I looked at him and I said, "Why would you say that?" And he goes, "I saw you driving a car." And I went, "Oh, did you see that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wasn't that amazing?" He's like, "It's a car." And I went, right. Okay. So I'm not allowed to fly into Colorado Springs whenever I want. You have NORAD, you have an Air Force base, you have a Space Force base, you have the Academy. I just can't come in whenever I want. I've got clearance to come in on the 24th of December. Other than that, I have to actually land my sleigh out at Peterson, which is the Air Force base. Two of the guys from the cavalry division come out to Peterson from Fort Carson, and they watch my reindeer and my sleigh. And then they usually give me a car to get me into town. And normally it's a Subaru, so I blend in. And the boy was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah, that totally makes sense." One of the hardest questions I ever had was from a little girl. She was just really well behaved, great, lovely, kind energy. We sit down and I said, "What would you like for Christmas?" And she says, "I want my best friend to get adoption papers so that she can get adopted by her foster family."
Wow.
And that's one of those things where, Santa doesn't have a lot of say in that. But I told her that we would work as hard as we could to have a little bit of Christmas magic and hopefully get your friend what she wants and what the parents want and what the little girl wanted. Because, we don't know all of the moving parts of it, but those are some that stick out for me right now.
That's beautiful. What do you say in current times? We live in very challenging times, to say the
100%.
least, on a global scale. Lots of tensions globally with adversaries and even some of our allies. There's a lot of things going on. What do you say to the kiddos living in today's day and age and how they adopt the Christmas spirit, knowing that probably that some of that fear, that's going on in the world might seep into their lives, their young lives in today's day and age?
The kids these days are being forced to grow up so quickly. They're having to face adult challenges much sooner than ever before. And on a global scale, there have been instances where countries that are being ravaged by war through the centuries, those children had to grow up faster than they should have. So when I see that fear and I see that adulthood start to set in with them, I try to remind them that there's always time, and that slowing down and being in the moment is what is going to help them get through whatever they're dealing with. It doesn't have to be rapid fire. We don't have to get from A to B to C at light speed. Only I have to do that. And it's only one night a year. The rest of the year, I don't move that fast. It's exhausting. But with those kids, helping them slow down and understand themselves and how they can then affect and impact the world around them, whether that be at home or at school or on their teams or in their community, I think is the biggest gift that they can give. And that's usually the advice I give them. I mean, a young boy will come up to me and say, I did have a young man ask me for an M16, and he was 7.
Oh my God.
And I said, "What would you want with an M16?" Now, granted, the first line that came to mind was from a movie that you guys probably know, and I could have looked at him and just said, "You'll shoot your eye out."
Yeah.
But I didn't say that. I said, "What would you want with an M16?" He goes, "So I can protect my house, so I can protect my family." And this is, again, a boy growing up much faster than he should. And I said, "I love the idea that you want to protect your house and your family and make things better for them. If I didn't bring that to you, what are some other ways that you could do that to make life better for your family?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." I'm like, "Do you help mom cook?" "Well, no." "Do you help dad with his chores outside?" "No." "Do you fight with your brother and sister? Is your room clean?" And I'm like, granted, I understand you're wanting to protect them, but there's a way to make your home life better by helping them and learning how to be, well, I'm just going to say it, a big boy. And he's like, "Yeah, maybe I don't need an M16 then." I'm like, "No, maybe you don't. Maybe you need tools to help dad in the garage, or maybe pots and pans to help mom cook." And he's like, "Yeah, okay." So getting them to refocus, because they think that violence is going to be the answer because that's what they see.
Yeah.
And getting that changed to the point where it doesn't have to be the answer. It can be an answer. I mean, I've seen evil things in the world, like we were talking about World War I last time, or when we talk about World War II and the atrocities in Europe with Germany. Those were terrible, terrible things. And at that time, that was the answer. But these little guys don't have to carry that. They don't have to see it that's their only answer. There are other ways that they can make things better.
Because that spreads out.
Exactly. Yeah.
From the smallest, the micro level, if everyone's doing that, then it kind of changes things on a fundamental level. I think.
Exactly. It changes the culture. And we don't have to go down that road. One of the things that, I've never seen this written, but it's one of the things that in the back of my mind comes up, and it's just choose kindness. Because kindness never faileth.
We're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors.
Lowry Law, a nationwide veteran disability law firm located in Colorado Springs. Lowry Veterans Law works on contingency with no upfront fees. They only get paid when the veterans get paid. Lowry Veterans Law offers free case evaluations. So if the VA fails to give you the ratings you deserve, contact Lowry Veterans Law at www.lowryveteranslaw.com or call 719-895-6979.
Storybook Destinations.
Storybook Destinations makes planning your magical Disney vacation effortless. From Disney cruises to Disneyland and beyond, they handle all the details so you can focus on the fun. Visit StorybookDestinations.com to start your adventure. That's StorybookDestinations.com.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Skip the healthcare hassle with Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Direct primary care for a simple monthly fee, putting health first. No insurance needed. Experience personalized care that's as unique as every individual. Visit PinnacleAPC.com to learn more. That's PinnacleAPC.com. Franchise succeed.
Grow any business with Franchise Succeed. From development to expansion, turning small businesses into national brands through franchising. Start scaling up with a free consultation at franchisesucceed.com today. That's franchisesucceed.com.
Planet Duct. Breathe easier with Planet Duct, Colorado Springs' premier air duct cleaning service. Powerful vacuum trucks rid homes of allergens and dust. Clear the air by visiting planetduct.com. That's planetduct.com.
Epic Eyewear. Elevate style with Epic Eyewear. Innovative designs meet unmatched quality, ensuring a great look and better vision. Discover your next pair of shades at epiceyewear.com. That's epiceyewear.com, spelled EPOCH eyewear.com.
And we're running a special discount right now, Andrew. It's COSBP 15 for 15% off your
15% off your freaking order at epiceyewear.com. We're wearing the sunglasses right now. If you're watching, listening on the audio, definitely check out the video so you can see and check out how epic they are. EPOCH
eyewear.com.
Eyewear.com.
Awesome Home Services. Awesome Home Services provides reliable electrical, plumbing, and HVAC services in Colorado Springs and surrounding areas. Whether you need emergency repairs for routine maintenance, they're available 24/7 to keep your home running smoothly. Visit awesomeservice.com. That's awesomeservice.com. Or give them a call at 719-370-0911 to schedule your service today. Now we will get back to this episode. I definitely think like you've been around for centuries, right? So we might think, times are so bad and so crazy. And oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. But there's been times like now. There have been times that are even crazier than now.
Oh yeah.
Talk about those times and your motivation to bring the Christmas spirit despite so many crazy times in humanity, and your motivation to keep bringing that to people who need it most.
Oh, we can. I mean, the number of examples of that. It just, because there is so much ugliness, for lack of a term. There has been so much in the world, and again, that best example was that Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in World War I, where those boys made that decision to not fight and to actually enjoy a Christmas together, even though they were, on the 24th, they were shooting at each other. And on the 26th, they were shooting at each other. But that one day they could actually come together as humanity. And that's the best part about as Santa. When I'm flying, there are no lines. The only lines I see are the highways. There's no state line. There's no country line. I have to know where I am all the time, but I know when I cross over from Canada to the United States, to Mexico, to Guatemala, and I continue through Central and South America, I know where I am. But when you look down, you're like, it's not like there's an edge of the table. And having that view of the world, again, it isn't an us versus them, it's a we. And I think if we looked more at, when I say we, it's not WII, but it's WE.
Yeah.
It's, that's how we come together and how we work better together is understanding that we're a we.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And like, I feel like oftentimes, we begin the year January and we're all working. I'm certainly one who just, time flies by because I'm just working on so many things over and over and over. Then by the time I look up, oh man, it's Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Holidays, especially like here in the US, but probably everywhere, like the holiday season forces you to stop and slow down and reflect, whether it's spending time with your family or stopping to get a gift for somebody who, your significant other or spouse. There's something so special. I mean, I'm an adult man now, and the Christmas magic still hits me in a different way. The Christmas
100%.
spirit is still alive in its own way.
Yeah,
And
when you're driving down the street, I know you see Christmas lights and you smile. I know that because you're like, this is good. This is one of the things that I heard from a gentleman just recently was he said he was trying a psychological experiment with himself. Every time he saw a gift or an image of a gift, he said, that's a present and I need to be present right now.
Mm.
And then the other thing he would say was, at that time, when I get a gift, I'm grateful. What am I grateful for right now? And that, the way he was explaining it, that slowed him down enough to be where he needed to be at that moment. And I thought it was a lovely, lovely way to not worry about how fast we're going or how quickly we're going to get there, because the joy is in the journey.
It's so true. And we want to go there together. Like
Yes.
for me, like I have my family here locally in town, but for those I love and care about who are friends or whatever, I want to bring them in if they don't have family.
Right.
It's so great. Me and Andrew are actually spending Thanksgiving together, which is going to be awesome at my mom's place. And
That's
it's just
fantastic.
It's a spirit of togetherness, which is what is so special, And
Now, Andrew, it's Tuesday, so you should probably start 3D printing something now.
That's right.
For
yes.
Thanksgiving.
Oh my God, good idea. That's actually a good advice. I like that. I'll 3D print the turkey. No, I'm just kidding.
this guy actually printed, because I'm a big fan of Marcus Aurelius.
Uh-huh.
He printed me a bust of his head.
Oh yes,
And it was
is
so
it the one
special.
that's in Rome?
Yeah, it was like the Roman.
It's the Roman one, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the Roman one. So
It's-
the one that they 3D scanned and put that up on.
Yeah,
online.
yeah.
Yes, I'm
It's-
very
it's-
familiar with it.
Okay, nice. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's the most common one, at least.
Yes,
Yeah.
So are you reading meditations?
No,
Ah.
I'm not. I've studied it a little bit, but
I would highly recommend.
oh, I've
In fact,
heard.
when we start talking about gift giving,
I got you. I'm watching and I'm listening. I got you.
Well, if Marcus knows me well, like with dyslexia and stuff, an audiobook would probably be better.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I would recommend. I mean, having read meditations, I recommend both, because sometimes it's easier to listen to, but also when you're dyslexic and you can listen, and while you're reading,
Listen while reading is the most powerful thing ever. Actually,
yeah, and then
It
you
is
can
so
highlight
amazing.
and make
Yeah.
notes when something really jumps off the page at you. Yeah,
I think you're spot on there with when it comes to not only listening but also following it while you're listening. That is
Yeah. No, it's
powerful
fun.
for anyone, even without this. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I had a question for you, Santa.
Yes, sir.
When you first start your season and you're doing so much and it's leading up to Christmas Eve, when you have the big, the big night ahead of you,
Right.
you're delivering all the presents. Do you see like an elevated rise in like Christmas spirit leading up to Christmas Eve, or is it like right out of the gate when you hit your first stop, say in November, and you're doing your stops and visiting people, getting the Christmas spirit up and going, is already at an elevated height already?
Oh, it's so much fun. What I saw this year was, and you might have seen it on your social media. People said, the Christmas season starts November 1st. Then we have Thanksgiving, and then we have the Christmas season again. So there's a really big spike right after Halloween. I think people really enjoy that idea of parties and dressing up and coming together. And then that's from Halloween, and then they kind of carry that into that's what we get to look forward to for the next 2 months. And so that's a lovely part of it. Then there's a little bit of a waning because you start to think of the logistics of it. What am I going to cook? What do I have to give? What do I get? Not so much what am I going to get, but have the kids made their list? Who's going to come? Where are we going to go? The logistics of it kind of bog it down, and finding the joy in the logistics, again, the joy in the journey is really, really important because you get to do these things. We don't have to do any of them. It's just an opportunity to do them. And I think that's the lovely part. So big spike November 1st, kind of slows down a little bit. It doesn't make a big dip. It's just this little dip. And then it starts to do this again. And by the time we get to December 24th, it's all 8 cylinders and 4,000 RPMs.
That's crazy. I have to ask because you've already mentioned some Christmas movies, and we mentioned Hot Santa. Of course, we don't know how that does.
Hot Frosty.
Hot Frosty.
Not hot
Santa.
Hot Santa would probably be a whole different website.
What are your favorite Christmas movies of all time? What's Santa's top 5 list?
And the top 5. Okay, I appreciate that because when people are like, pick one, I'm like, I can't pick one because it depends on my mood. There's a little known movie, at least in this day and age, called The Bishop's Wife. I absolutely love that one. It's about an angel who comes and helps a bishop get a better view of what he's doing and why. That happens at Christmas. Both of the Grinch movies, the one with Boris Karloff, the cartoon, and then Jim Carrey, who embodied the Grinch so well, just really do make me sit back and giggle. I do enjoy Elf. Buddy is a great representation of what really does go on at the North Pole, and that high energy and excitement. Because I know that there are some Gen Xers that do listen to your show. Die Hard does make the list because it's a Christmas movie. And
That's awesome.
But things that just make you smile. And for Santa, it's one thing. It's going to be different, completely different for everybody else. Some people are going to say, I like a good violent movie. I'm like, okay, great. Does it make you smile? Yeah, okay, that's fun. That's fine. I mean, when you sit back and look at a lot of the traditions of Christmas, the Europeans had a really great way of scaring their children into submission at Christmas time with stories of Krampus and just there's a story that came out of South Africa that was more recent it was in the 20th century where there was a boy who ate. They made cookies and grandma said, these are cookies for the family and for Santa. Don't eat them. And then he ate them. Mm-hmm. And so she beat him and he died. And so now the parents tell their kids, if you eat the cookies, then Danny will come and take you away. And so I'm like, wow, okay. So there's a lot of fear that goes into getting kids to act that way. But it doesn't always have to be that way.
There's a Violent Night that came out like 2 years ago.
Yes, Violent Night. Yeah, there was a really fun scene in that when the guy went to stab Santa Claus and Santa held up the bag and his arm just disappeared into the bag. I thought that was funny as heck.
Christmas magic all over.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome. I have one final because I know you have to take off. You're getting very busy during this season.
Oh yes, yep. But I love coming down to see you boys.
What do you say to the little boy out there who might not come from a very affluent means, who is just maybe not so celebratory right now
Mhm.
for the Christmas spirit, but just needs a little bit of a talk from Santa Claus to get him into the Christmas spirit and to celebrate what's important in his life and for maybe the next couple years, as he's getting through his adolescence.
Christmas is what we make it. And like I said before, I'm as real as you let me be. And so I'm able to come and see you guys because you two are believers. And that makes it fun. Christmas has become, what am I getting? What am I giving? And like I said, that's slowly starting to change as people are wondering, who's around the tree, who's with us. I know people who have lost family members recently who are mourning the idea of the holiday season coming up, and they're thinking, how do I get through it? I know that for that little boy that you're talking about, I know that we put a lot of emphasis on the stuff. But if he can be the example of, it's not so much about the stuff, but the people who either gave it or received it or who were there with us and we made the memory of, because the memories will last much, much longer than any of the stuff. And if he really feels a need to give of himself, which is a valid need, finding his inner creativity, I think, is really a great way to show his mom, dad, grandparents that he loves them. I know here in Colorado Springs, you guys have a lot of resources with the public libraries. And so if they decided that they wanted to learn how to 3D print and be able to give gifts like that, the parents would be overwhelmed with his generosity because he actually put thought into his gifts and just said, okay, what's on Amazon and how can I get it shipped here? But take some of the pressure off of yourself, because it doesn't have to be, I don't have to be rich and give all the things that they have on the list. I want to make sure that I have an impact on their life. And I want to make sure that my impact is making their lives better than it was before. And that's the best way to do it.
So for the kids who think or even feel like they might not have a good Christmas, maybe they should focus more on how to enrich the lives of the people around them.
Yes, because honestly, I mean, you said you were going to come with a gift for Santa.
Yeah.
I hardly ever get gifts, but that's because I find my joy is from the giving, and I don't need anything. Mother and I, Mrs. Claus and I, we don't exchange gifts. We make sure that all of our needs are met, but we know that the best present is being present. So when you're worried about what I didn't get, you're not present. When you're worried about did they like it, you're not present. And that's the best thing you can do for yourself and for those around you.
Love it. One final question for me.
I thought that was the last one already.
I know. I'm loving this. This is awesome. You only get so much time with Santa
That's
Claus.
100% true. Yeah.
What can we do as human beings to keep the Christmas spirit alive in the world today?
When it comes right down to it, have you there? When you finish your day, ask yourself, did I do something today that made the world a better place? It could be, you could be running a corporation, you could run a company, a country, or you could be a podcaster who runs into somebody at Circle K. How do we keep the Christmas spirit is by continuing to give of ourselves, because when you start to look beyond yourself and your sphere, and you're taking care of those around you, then everyone's needs get met. There's an old saying that says, a rising tide floats all boats. So if I'm making sure that you have what you need, and I'm making sure that you have what you need, and all of a sudden, someone's going to make sure that I have what I need. And we're all better together. And that's how we get there, is just thinking outside of yourself and getting that idea of we instead of us versus them.
Wow. What a beautiful way to close things up. I really appreciate your time with us, Santa. We have another guest coming on very, very soon. But we appreciate your time spent with us. We know you're super busy during this time. And I think it's been about 2 years since you've been on. So hopefully we can get you on year over year, because this is such a special.
It would be a lot of fun to continue to visit you boys, but I'm always watching. Well, you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you again soon. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.
Whoa, Mark.
Hi.
It's nice to have you back,
It's
dude.
good to see you guys. How are you?
We just got done talking to Santa. I know you're familiar with him, right?
Yes, I am.
Well, sweet. So how's everything been with the business and what's been going on with your life?
The business, this is not what I expected, actually. This is going to be my best year ever.
Really?
Yeah. I've got over 41 gigs, 99 hours booked. I've got a couple people who are talking about other events. We've checked on my calendar, so I'm free. And so I've seen that the economy has impacted a lot of things, but people really want to have that spirit of Christmas and Santa with them. And so we did have a loss in the community 2 weeks ago. We had 3 weeks ago we had a Santa have a stroke.
Oh man.
On a Thursday, and then he died the next Tuesday, and so this was 2 weeks ago. And a lot of people are justifiably upset and saddened by it because he was a staple. He was 78 years old, and that's the hard thing about this game is it's so many times we hear the phrase it's a young man's game. No, this isn't. This is an old guy's game.
Yeah.
And that's usually what happens is we don't age out. We just stop being able to do it. And it's hard. So that impacted me with a whole bunch of new bookings and moving things around and getting me a lot more busy.
Do you think you're early in the game?
Oh, I'm very early in the game. Whenever I go to training or whenever I go to a meeting, I'm literally in the lower 5%. I'm only 55.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the women that I had a gig with on this past Sunday, she just looked at me. She goes, "Okay, I don't want to ever have to experience this again." Because she was close to the Santa Scott. She said, "So, I mean, you're not moving. You're in good health." And I'm like, "I'm 55. I'm planning on doing this until at least how old he was, which was 78. So I've got another 20 years in me for this." And she's like, "Okay, that sounds great. I just want to make sure that's the case." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that there is that continuity." And that's the other thing that I notice in this business is that photographers will not change the Santa they use because
me too. I've noticed that. Yeah.
The families want that same Santa every year. And then when there's that violent change, it shakes everything up. So it impacted the community, it impacted the Santa community, it impacted my schedule. And showing up and just trying to be the young lady that I met on Sunday. I said, I can't replace him. I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to be your Santa now. And that's all we can do is to help him. So, yeah, it's fun though. It's good. It's good stuff because the vision of Santa is changing. I'm a part of a group on Facebook called, and I'm not kidding, Fit Santa.
Okay, so you're weightlifting.
Oh yeah, every morning.
Nice.
Yeah, every morning I'm playing with kettlebells.
That's cool.
Awesome.
No, it's one of those deals. Well, there's a great old commercial of you see this old guy, and he looks at a calendar, and then he looks at a picture of his granddaughter.
I've seen this one.
And then he starts he starts lifting this kettlebell and doing this, and people, and his neighbor calls his daughter, and she's like, "Is he okay?" But the reason that he was doing it was so that he could give her the family star to put on the tree, and then he could lift her up to do it and have the strength to do it. So as much as this is an old guy's game, we don't have to let the ravages of time catch up to us so readily. I find that hard because, and on any weekend I'll have two gigs. I'll have one gig on a Friday night. I'll have two or three on a Saturday and another two on a Sunday. It's not like I'm going home for a home cooked meal, because it's just me. And so, and by the time you've been on all that time, I hate to say it, but Taco Bell looks pretty darn good because I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And so trying to balance that out of making sure I wake up in the morning at a regular time, making sure I'm getting enough sleep. When I wake up at the regular time, going downstairs and doing my workout because I'm investing in myself. And then trying to plan out my day where I'm like, hydrate. Because that's the one thing I'm struggling. I continue to struggle with. I have ever since I started doing this gig. Was I hate having to eat and drink because at some point I'm going to have to go use the facilities as Santa, and that's almost like completely undressing, getting down to the point where you can do that. And I find myself not taking as good a care of myself as I want to. But I will say, this year I've lost 15 pounds. And I had there was a guy in the Fit Santa group, showed a picture of himself, and he was down. He said, I'm down 30 pounds from last year. And not one kid noticed how much weight I lost because they don't care.
Yeah. I mean, with all the clothes too, it makes you look bigger too.
Well, with all the clothes, yeah, but even the kids don't care.
Yeah.
It's the parents that really have the issue because they have an image in their head of that's what he's supposed to look like. Yeah. And so,
you know what's funny is something I've had a recent thought about was that I've seen very muscular guys and they actually, if you didn't take a second look, they look fat almost. So you could probably pull off the fat look, but you're just muscular.
Just buff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's, just trying to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, because you got to be healthy as well,
exactly.
too.
Right, yeah.
When does the transformation actually, because they're talking about fitness, that's year round, but like, when is what does that transformation look like for you? Is it like growing the beard out a little bit more full? Is it like, talk to us a little bit more about that as well.
Well, I'll start at the end, which I have an appointment scheduled for the week after Christmas to get this cut back down to where I like it. I like to have it, thinner on the sides and I don't mind the length, but just a little bit neater. When I do Santa, an ex of mine once told me that I had more beard product than she had hair product.
Okay.
And I looked at her and I said, yes, because this makes a lot more money than your hair does.
Yeah. Nice.
But that's where I get my gigs I'm a walking advertisement for it. I don't, I haven't established a web presence. I have an Instagram account and that's it. And I do that just because it's fun to share stuff. But it literally is just word of mouth. So when do I get into the spirit of it? When does that start? It never stops. To paraphrase or to tweak a quote from the first Spider-Man movie, with a great beard comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And so it's why I usually will not wear red. I'm doing it tonight because I'm repping the brand. But for the most part, I've gotten rid of every red shirt I have because I don't want kids to get confused when I see them on the street. And they still recognize me. I actually went out and bought these glasses because it's like my Clark Kent look. The glasses I used to wear were very similar. They were silver, but they were similar to my Santa glasses. And I'm like, I got kids stopping me. They're like, oh my gosh, it's Santa. Now they just look up and they say, oh, there's an old fat white guy. And so, and then I do this. I'm like, you don't recognize me now? And they're like, oh my gosh. I had one kid actually just go, blank, it's Santa. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Cheeks, man. You got the perfect cheeks.
Rosy cheeks.
So it carries on all through the year. I start thinking about it September. I start really getting a lot of phone calls in October, and that's when the schedule fills up. I'm finding that people like the kind of Santa that I am, the kind of feeling they get when I'm around them, and so I'm getting people booking me earlier. The earliest booking I had for the 2024 season was January 4th of 2024. And it was for the Edelweiss German restaurant here in town. They wanted to make sure that I was available for German Santa Claus Day, which is December 6th.
Oh, no joke.
Yeah. So
a year in advance, essentially.
Basically a year in advance. Yeah. What was funny about that is then I got a hold of my friend who's with the Downtown Partnership, Carrie Simbison. And I said, by the way, Carrie, remember last year when you booked me in June? And I said that was the earliest? And she said, yeah. And I said, I just got my first booking for 2024. And she's like, stop it. Okay, give me 2 weeks.
Nice.
So it's just people are starting to see the value and they have the means and they want the experience.
So you were talking with Craig Tamanini.
Talking with Craig Tamanini. Yeah, one of your former guests.
Yeah. And he kind of got you thinking, like, why not think bigger? And so you say it's
damn him.
It's just word of mouth right now, but it's like if you were more proactive on the social media and other stuff, you could be doing twice as much probably, if not more, if that's possible. Honestly.
No, it is. 18 years ago, so back when you were 3.
Something like that.
Yeah, we're 21.
Thank you.
18 years ago, I was a Cub Scout leader for my oldest son, and a gentleman came in, and his grandson was part of the pack, and he was a Santa. Now this was in February, so he wasn't in red, but I could tell what he did. So we started talking. He would fly out of Colorado on Thanksgiving Day every year, and he would go to New York City, and he would fly home on Christmas. And in that time, he made $60,000
in like a 30-day span.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And so when I saw Craig, I told him that I was going to be leaving the career I was in because I wasn't happy with it. And there was nothing wrong with the career. Just me and finance don't get along.
Yeah. And you did leave it, right?
And I did leave it. Yeah, I did. And he looked at me and he said, why aren't you making a living being Santa? And I said, because I don't know how to do that. He goes, so why don't we sit down and figure it out? And so working with the business partner, it's been very, very interesting because he keeps throwing things at me. Like, I just think I need to pack more events into a smaller time frame, and I need to charge people more money. And Craig's like, there are other things that we could be doing that would allow you to do this. And that's been fun and hard. I don't, there is a struggle with self-confidence, and I don't care who you are or what you do. If you're not doubting yourself, then you're not asking yourself the right questions. But sometimes that doubt gets to be deeper water than you want it to be. And that's not polarizing, paralyzing as a Santa, because you've got to perform. You've got to be there and be ready. So
it's a performance for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm the first cosplayer.
Yeah, there you go.
I had some friends. I was working at a shop downtown, and it was the weekend before Halloween. And they're like, "Hey, they're having the trick or treat downtown, and you guys can dress up if you want." And so a couple folks did, and they're like, "Mark, you didn't dress up," and I'm like, "I dress up more in a year than you will in the next 25. So
for sure,
let me I'm just going to dress like a normal guy because it's comfortable."
For sure.
Well, me as a marketer, I know Craig is too. When I think about it, I'm like, man, there's a lot you can do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It all depends. Like for you, you give a lot to this performance that you put on. And at some point, there probably is a point of diminishing returns for yourself too. Like if you're doing like 200-300 things a year, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So you just got to figure out for yourself, like
where's my balance? Yeah. Where's my balance? Right.
What did you guys come up with?
We've come up with a couple of ideas. Nothing I'm ready to flesh out yet. But I think thinking beyond myself and being able to spread some of the magic of Santa to other men so that they're better prepared to be Santas is one of the things one of the avenues we're going down. Yeah. And then I've talked, having exposure to a number of more photographers, which I hadn't had before. They're looking at me just going, oh my gosh, we could do, and then insert X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, yeah. When we have the time, I'm happy to do it. Like I did my first photo shoot with a real reindeer this year. Yeah. I'll send you the picture so you can add it.
That'd be good.
It's
it's already published and everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. She posted it on my page and I'm so it's all good. But I was like, wow, a real reindeer. The funny part was that the gig I was at this past Sunday, the woman had rented the same company. And so one of the reindeer that she brought was Jingles, that reindeer. So I went up suited up because I'd shown up at the photo shoot suited up. So I went up to the cage suited up, and Jingles came over to me like, and the trainer's like, he never does that. It's like he remembers you. And I'm like, well, we had a good time. I fed him a lot of raisins. So.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I can tell this is self-evident, but this is a real passion for you. Like I can tell when you're talking about it that you love bringing joy to people
100%.
Around you. Where does that come from?
It is the greatest gift that this profession has ever been able to give me. I am naturally outgoing. No one has ever used shy, withdrawn, or has a hard time talking to people as a description of me.
Nice.
And I find that I have to throttle myself back to meet society's expectations. So I'm not coming on too strong or whatnot. The image of Santa and carrying this beard all the time allows me to step a bit more into that extroverted side and to talk to people in ways that I normally wouldn't be able to talk to complete strangers, and make them smile. I mean, some people will walk by and just say, "Hey man, that's a great beard." And I'll say, "Thanks, it came with my suit," which is not what people would expect to hear. And then they stop. They're like, "What?" I pull out my phone and I show them a picture of me as Santa, and they're like, "Oh, wow." And then we can start talking. And my goal is to leave an interaction with somebody better than I found it. So where does it come from? It's part of that Christmas magic. It's part of that Christmas miracle. But I think it's allowing me to relax into who I've always been and want to continue to be at a bigger level. I had somebody talking to me about this from a business standpoint. And it wasn't Craig, but they're like, but if you do this and you do this and you do this, you could be making more money. And I'm like, my motivation is this tall. And they're about anywhere from 3 to 10, 11 years old. Even the big 92-year-old kids, that's my motivation. As soon as it becomes my wallet, I'm out. Because then I'm approaching it from my motivation of my wallet never got me out of bed. It was just a responsibility to the man. And when I'm working for myself and my motivation is making money, I'm like, no, I can't do it. I won't do it. It won't get me out of bed. But Mark, you get to get out of bed and be Santa, and you get to make people smile. Hot dog, let's go. Sorry about that.
Wow. No, that's great. Yeah. I think it's important for everyone to find that.
Yeah, absolutely.
For them. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah. I talk to my kids about that. There's a fine line between taking your passion project and making it your profession, because then it becomes work.
Right.
And that's a really tight rope to walk. But finding something where you can do that it's probably the greatest gift you can ever give yourself. And that wasn't something, I'm a Gen Xer. That wasn't something we were taught. We were taught, go to work and you punch the clock every day and you do your thing and stay faithful to the company, and then you get your retirement. Faithful to the company is a farce now. A retirement is a farce now. And so that whole landscape's different. And so I'm going to kind of follow that new landscape and make it my own. So I'll probably pick up an office job while I'm trying to build something up and get momentum. But my goal is to be Santa. Yeah, that's it.
Do you ever is there ever any year-round capabilities for this? I don't know enough.
No.
If I'm assuming not, right? Because Santa's one time in the year. So
we were talking about one thing where there's Christmas in July. What I found is that Christmas in July is adult themed and not kid themed. And so it has a completely different energy to it. This past Saturday night, I did an event for a toy drive, and it was a higher end toy drive. There were a bunch of people in, black tie. And it was amazing, but it was a different energy. It was adults who, oh yeah, we want Santa. And what I came to realize, especially in those moments, was I'm a prop. That's all I was. And once I understand that,
magic.
What's that?
There was no magic.
No, there's no magic. There's none at all.
It's all let's get drunk.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I was like, wow, okay. I got paid, but it wasn't as fulfilling as the event that I had just before I came here, where I was, working with a realtor, and they were bringing in families to get pictures. And, there was lots of fear, lots of excitement. My favorite ones are when the kids walk into the room and see me, and they're just like, oh, and then literally drop everything, including their jacket, and they just sprint.
That's so cool.
And, as long as I can grab them and catch them, then I do that. But, sometimes normally it's mom or dad grabbing them by the collar and yanking them back. But that's the best part, because they're like, this is it. So, yeah.
What is and you talked about this briefly, but you do meetups and you do trainings. What does that all encompass as far as staying a prize in being Santa Claus? Because a lot of folks out there who might want to do this, they might not know the roadmap to becoming a successful Santa Claus.
So I go to a training every year, and people are, the first thing I say is, I go to Santa school, and they're like, there's always a giggle. Why do you need to learn how to be Santa? And my first question is, why does Santa Claus wear white gloves? Why do I wear white gloves? What do you think?
To keep your fingerprints off the crime scenes.
Okay.
Keep your hands clean.
So you can see my hands in the pictures. Yeah, so you can see my hands. Because if I'm doing this, somebody is bound to say, where was your hand when you were holding my daughter?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's just one, and that's one small thing. When you're in the suit, you're Santa. That's it. Somebody asks me, so how was your drive in? Well, coming over Montana was a bit dicey, but I usually get through it pretty well. And they're like, okay. And some people get it oh yeah, right, he's Santa. And some people are like, oh yeah, you believe a little too much. And I feel sorry for the people the latter, because yeah, I do. We spent an unfortunate amount of time this year talking about active shooter drills. And the presentation was basically, so let's see, you're the up on the throne. Everybody could see you. So high visibility. If you've got somebody who's listening, who believes that Jesus talked to them through the radio and said that you need to kill Santa so Jesus can be the reason for the season, there's a problem. You're all in red. And you're surrounded by kids. So it's not a time for you to be a hero. You need to know your surroundings and know where your escape routes are and where your hiding places are, and breaking that down. I'm going to be the Santa for the Festival of Lights for Colorado Springs. In fact, by the time this publishes, I will probably already have done it.
What day?
The 7th of December.
Oh, yeah.
But I've approached 2 police officers, because when I was doing the Parade of Lights in Denver, we're going down the street, and I go like this, and then like this, and I'm like, that's really exposed.
Right.
If somebody doesn't agree, that's really exposed. And so I asked a couple of police officers, would you recommend I wear a vest? And they're like, I wouldn't worry about it. You don't need to carry that kind of concern. We're going to have this is the kind of security we have on site.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen that kind of security firsthand in our building right downtown, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're on the 3rd floor at, like different buildings like that you don't even think of. And they have a gunman right there.
A sniper rifle. Yeah, exactly. And
for
that's
certain events. I don't know about all events, but
yeah,
for some of them,
but no, I mean, he's like, no, for the Christmas parade, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
He's like, there's going to be literally a cop on every corner of the entire route.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I can feel a little bit more calm about that, but it's something that comes to mind.
For sure. Yeah.
And so, what we talk about, how to get a suit, where to get a suit, what you're looking for. I'm looking forward to next year because I'm going to get 2 new suits.
Oh, nice.
Well, I've got the one that I normally wear, which is, a very traditional look. But one of the things from marketing standpoint, I'm going to put together a website.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you have the social medias already put together for Centennial Santa?
Just
Instagram,
just
right?
IG. Yeah,
Okay.
just Instagram.
Make sure you get the TikTok so that when we post clips, we can tag you in it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. All right. I'll do that.
Get some of that exposure for
yeah.
sure. Especially from last time. We talked about 10 million views, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I cannot believe that. But, next year when I build the website, one of the opportunities is going to be, which Santa do you want? Do you want the traditional Santa? Do you want the Coke Santa? And the Coke Santa has a different look. There's no fur down the front. It's just big brass buttons. He's got a brown belt. He's got brown boots, and he doesn't wear glasses. Do you want? There's a couple of places here in town where I'm going that are outdoors and more rustic. So I'm thinking about getting white overalls and having a friend of mine dye them Santa red, and then wear a white shirt under that, and then either wear my normal Santa hat or find a
Get
red.
some brass buttons right
Yes,
here.
exactly. Right. Yeah. And so, there's what is it what aesthetic do you want? Because you can do that. I already have another look where I call it my Santa tux. It's tux pants, tux shirt, untied bow tie, and then a red velvet jacket.
Mhm.
And I've done that. I got that one because somebody wanted to have a Santa baby party. And so there were no kids, there were just adults. So there was a lot of alcohol. And yes, while I was there, I was Santa, so I did not partake. So, that's there are opportunities from a marketing standpoint of this is how we're going to get more out and busy.
Yeah, we have one of our dear friends. Actually, today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Brian! Number 30, by the way. But he does corporate events, and he does big. And he started out with just axe throwing, mobile axe throwing out of like a U-Haul. It's built itself into this beautiful experience. It's called like Night Experience.
Okay.
Now, and they do like
Pending approval for certain things.
Yeah. It might change names actually. Now that I think about that. But they do big corporate events, and we're talking for like a lot of Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies that come in. But they do just over the top holiday celebrations.
Or lumberjack. They have a lumberjack festival.
A lumberjack, and so they have like a thing like, hey, pick your theme, and a lot of them do have like Christmas themed, and these are like Chase Bank, J.P. Morgan, these big companies.
Arby's.
That might be something eventually that.
Well, what's his name?
Brian Ross Manning.
Hey, Brian, if you need a Santa.
Brian, you need a Santa, Brian.
Or at least his event planning friends, because they're the ones that get him the gig. It's kind of nice because they actually year over year they just want a lumberjack theme, and that's where he specializes, like the lumberjacks.
Right.
He's a very giving guy too, so you guys would be right aligned. Like,
I'd love to hang out
the
with
blue
him.
wall we had in the old podcast studio?
Yeah.
He built that.
Oh, did he really? Oh, he's fantastic.
He just gave
That's
it
cool.
for free.
That's
fun.
cool. Yeah, I'd love to meet him. We'll have to facilitate that.
For sure. And they're buku bucks for someone like you. And then you're like, okay, maybe, I dial back the events I do, but they're also bigger. But then you also have availability to do the things that you love, which is whatever it might be, the festival lights or whatever it might be.
I've got this really fun idea that I'm still playing with. The ladies who are out at Venatucci Farms, so
Nice.
it's Gather Mountain Blooms, I think is what it's called now. Because they can't do food there anymore because of the contamination of the water table, they just grow flowers. But they have a very large event space inside and out. And I've been thinking about for a long time, I'm like, we could have a Yule event, not a Christmas event, but a Yule event. And the thing that really excited me was like, and then I get to get another costume because I get to dress up like Odin instead of Father Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, that might be kind of fun. So yeah, worth a look. I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah. You could do Zeus too.
Who's who?
I just thought of that. Zeus.
Oh, yes.
You could do a good Zeus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be hysterical.
Just a toga and a lightning bolt. That's all you need.
I've walked around in a kilt before. Oh, that's the other thing. That's the fun thing. There is a group that had petitioned Scotland, and they have created a Claus clan in Scotland. And so I am now official member of that clan.
Okay.
So they have their own tartan. And so that's one of my other outfits that I'm going to get is I want to get a
What's
kilt.
a tartan? Is it kilt?
No, the tartan is the pattern of the kilt.
Oh, okay. The plaid pattern where lumberjacks come from.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, this one's red, green, white, and gold.
Okay.
So I'll get the tartan and then have you guys had Ladoris Burton on the show?
I don't even know who she is actually.
She's James Proby's seamstress.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, you would. She's
We've had James on.
Yeah, I know you have.
Yeah.
But having Ladoris does all this seamstressing, and she's starting to teach classes out of the men's exchange.
Oh, that's cool.
And so
they have a new location, right?
They do have a new location.
I just learned that because of our last guest from last week.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I highly recommend to visit. But I'm going to have her make me a kilt, which is outside of her comfort zone. She's never made one, so she's like,
nice.
okay, that'll be interesting and fun. But then I want to get, how when the Scots have like a tuxedo, it's the short jacket when they wear the kilt. I'm going to get one of those made by her, but have it in red instead. And so we'll have a Scottish Santa as well.
I just had a vision for you actually, just now thinking, you could be the social media Santa.
Oh, there's a whole bunch already. There's so many.
Okay,
there's tons.
Okay. But
yeah.
I haven't seen them though. Like, is there like...
Well, how often are you searching for Santa on TikTok?
That's true.
Because are you some weirdo who's looking for Santa?
But what if like you become the like... as like Santa, like, and you don't play it down at all, like you're in character fully, and like you become the one.
Well, it's funny you say that because in January,
you already are in a sense, by the way, if you think about it.
In January, my last kid will move out of the house.
Okay.
And for the first time in 55 years on this earth, I will be living alone.
Oh.
And so I'm like, And people keep asking me, so you're going to get roommates or, fill the house up? And I'm like, no, I like the quiet.
Yeah.
And so my son was asking me, so what are you going to do with my room? And I'm like, I'm thinking I'm going to make that my Santa room. I'm going to call it the North Pole. But that would be a great place to be able to do my social
some
media
production,
from.
yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be something that I might have to talk to you guys about.
If it's big enough, you might want to convert the basement or something.
The entire basement.
Yeah.
I've known Santas who've done that.
Yeah.
Their entire,
Really?
Yeah, their entire basement is
Yeah.
Christmas. Everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be cool for you to have. I mean, I don't know if this is like a photo op moment for NORAD and you, if they ever were to involve you in that kind of tradition that they do.
Mhm.
That'd be really cool to
Oh,
involve you.
that's the hard part is that they already have Santas doing this.
Oh,
And
really?
so, you either wait for somebody to, again, pass away or quit,
Mhm.
or honestly not be reliable.
Yeah.
And then they start looking for someone else.
Or you be the biggest Santa on social media, and they
then they have to get me.
Yeah.
then they have to get you.
You are inevitable.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, I was pulling up a lot of your dates coming up, and
Oh,
there's-
you've been dating? You got a lot of girls coming?
yeah,
Okay.
dates with downtown Colorado
No.
Springs for the character stroll. Of course, you're talking about the Festival of Lights,
Festival of Lights on December 7th, Character Stroll on December 11th.
Edelweiss. Like you said, I love Edelweiss, but
Yeah.
that's a New Year's tradition for
Yeah.
my family to
Oh,
go
cool.
every single for 40 years.
Wow.
To go to Edelweiss on New Year's, and then my grandpa, when he was alive, it was a special wine called Black Cat that we
Uh-huh.
all use. I don't drink anymore, but like when I did, we go every single year and have that wine, just celebrate with
That's
him.
cool.
And we've kept the tradition alive.
Yeah. I was introduced to them through another client. And then he was like, well, we've never really felt like a need for a Santa. Nothing really impressed us. And then I came for her event and he's like, so can I hire you? And I was like, yeah. So, yeah, it's just, just showing up. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm going to be at La Baguette
I just saw
in
that too.
Colorado Springs.
Mhm.
Old Colorado City. The other one I'm excited. The one I'm really excited about
Yeah.
is on Black Friday. I'm going to be at the Lego store.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's going to be amazing. The newest one I got on that list though is I'm going to be at the Ice Castles in Cripple Creek
No
on the
way.
23rd of December.
We have to come and hang out with you.
Oh, that would be awesome.
To do one before we drop this episode and maybe make a thing about it for the promo.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, Locomotive Johnny Joy was just on this
Oh, was he?
show.
Oh,
in
fantastic.
May or June.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. And it's just so cool to follow what's going on with Locomotive and all the different things they're doing, going to Broncos games, going to Switchback games. By the way, congratulations to Switchbacks on the
100%.
championship win. That was huge for our city.
Let's aim to go to the Lego one on the 29th if that works for you.
Yeah, well, that's
Or
coming
the
up quick,
first.
right? Saturday?
That's Friday.
Black Friday. Yeah, that's right.
Block Friday.
Well, that's this weekend or this week. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, that's this Friday.
Actually, it would have to be either like let's try to make it out to one of the ones you'll be at.
Oh, I'd love
I think
that.
great,
That'd be
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Add a little extra element.
But the ice castle, the ice castles have never been open before Christmas here in Colorado.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
And my best friend's up there right now working on building the castle.
Yeah.
And so they were talking. I had sent him a picture of me at the photo shoot with the reindeer. And he was like, oh my gosh. And they're like,
Mhm.
what? And he goes, oh, you got to see this. And they're like, we're opening the 19th and we've never had a Santa. Is he available? And he's like, this is his rate. I can reach out to him and give you his contact information. And they reached out. I'm like, the only night I have available is Monday. And she's like, but that would be fine. So I'll be up there from 6 to 9.
That's cool.
And they're sending out, apparently they have this big red throne that's in New York. So they're sending that out for me to sit in.
What date was that you said?
December 23rd, Monday.
December
Oh,
23rd.
right
Monday.
before
Okay.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Nice.
right
Perfect.
before
Okay.
Christmas. Yeah.
We
So
may have to, I've never been to the ice castles, and I've always wanted to go, and that would be
It's
an
a good
excuse to
excuse.
be- just to see our friend Mark.
That's big
I mean,
time.
yeah, it should be fun.
And a lot of those, a lot of people do like visit Colorado Springs, or like they have a lot of like viral reels that they
Mhm.
do with the ice castles. It'd be so cool if you got in
Oh no,
one
100%.
of those reels.
100%. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
I enjoy doing it. And that's the thing. I'm going to keep doing this until I don't enjoy it anymore, and then I'll stop.
Mhm.
I just don't see
I
that
thought you were about to say
happening.
until I die, but
Yeah. Well, or until I die.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, literally, the one nice thing that I found is that because it's an old man's game, me being as young as I am, I'm a lot more agile. And
Yeah,
so I can do a lot of the things that the other Santas haven't been able to do.
You're the young guy. Again.
I'm the young guy in the group, and I'm 55.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nuts.
And you have a lot of experience already too.
Yeah,
so.
I've got 5 years under my belt, and it's just continuing to grow. So
I think tie in the story between, because you do Centennial Knotworks, right?
Centennial State Knotworks, yep.
Centennial State Knotworks. And I think that could be very weaved together as a beautiful story, I think, with the Santa stuff and then the knots. And then like,
Well, let's see. I mean, from the dad joke
and
standpoint,
weaved together.
woven together. Yes, exactly. From the dad joke standpoint, I tell people that I'm naughty 10 and a half months out of the year, and I'm nice 6 weeks out of the year.
Yeah, okay. Naughty. Yeah,
But when the young lady here in Colorado Springs, when she made my suit, she actually found trim, the border trim, and she said, "Oh, I picked this one out special because it looks like rope." To tie in those two things together, which I thought was really, really cool.
That's the trademark. That robe is, I mean, last time we were on the show, by the way, I got to wear that and put a photo up of me wearing that. That was pretty awesome.
I remember. Yeah.
That's a good photo. Yeah. It was on my SD card for like a year, and I'd see it every time I opened up that SD card.
Sporting the whole Santa robe. It was awesome.
So I've seen that picture probably more than anybody.
Well, Mark, you have a full schedule ahead of you, man.
I do.
We're so excited for you. Thank you again for coming on the show.
I'm
this
happy to come back and see you guys. I
year
love
over
watching
year,
what
we
you
have
guys
to
do.
make this happen.
We can make it an annual visit. That's fine. You know,
Just make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's your calendar, not mine.
Yeah.
Well, this is your camera. Speaking of which, tell us where to find you. You got a whole lot going on in the community. I think you're doing 1 million cups. So tell the camera what you need to tell the camera.
Yeah. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me at Centennial State Santa on Instagram. That's pretty much the only social I've got, but that's the best way to get in touch with me there. If you have any interest in Knotworks, you can go to csknotworks.com and or Centennial State Knotworks on Instagram. If you're in Colorado Springs and aren't attending, we'd love to see you as an entrepreneur at 1 Million Cups every Wednesday morning in the building that we're in right now, which is the Exponential Impact Building, right?
In the exact room, actually.
In the same room. Exactly. And yeah, there are a list of events where Santa's going to be appearing. And so if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me on social media, and I can make sure you guys can get out there and get some pictures.
Awesome. Well, we're going to do a picture after this. Oh, yeah. We need to wrap it up. All right. So it's been great having you on. It was an amazing time last time. And I think there's just a magic to you, there's already a magic with the Christmas spirit, but there is a magic to you specifically.
You're very kind.
Yeah. And I think people caught on to that. And I think that's why the clips that we posted did so well, was because the way you present yourself, the way people feel the realness. And that's the song right there. People feel the realness. Okay. Anyways, I get distracted all the time. And it's just, we're happy to have you back on this year. And we're excited to see what you do with your business. And we're champions of you and your business. And if you ever need anything from us, we're here for you as well too.
I'm happy to hear that. I love coming to see you guys, and I loved seeing those clips go so well because it got you guys so much more exposure.
It did, yeah.
So I hope I can help with that again.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I think it's your eyes. I think that you have a very special, like eyes are the windows into the soul, right? And like when you're talking about something you're passionate about, you just light up, and it's just like through your eyes. And
I think it's the voice. So
and the calming voice. We were talking about that when you're in the restroom a little earlier. Just your demeanor. You're made for this, and it's just so cool to highlight you.
Well, it lets me be the best parts of me, and I like that.
Awesome.
Well, this has been the COS Business Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one.